Hello, welcome. My name is John Acton. I'm managing partner at DPI and peer-to-peer. I'll be chairing today's session. I have over 25 years experience in the post and parcel world. I know what you're thinking. It looks like I have at least double that, but I started very late, so forgive me for that. First of all, welcome to the Post and Parcel Live. To kick things off, we have a very special lineup of speakers for you today. And this section is called Postal Perspectives, where leaders in the last mile will come together in an all-encompassing overview of the delivery industry. We'll be looking at everything from diversity and inclusion to specific national performance and insights. These are individuals at the top of their game who hopefully will be bringing lots of thought-provoking ideas for you to take away with you. Right, an outline of the session. Actually, before I say that, if you're on LinkedIn or Twitter, please hashtag Post and Parcel Live so we can get as many people interested in this event as possible. That would be awesome. Okay, so we have at least two presenters in this first session. Hopefully a third will be joining. Our first presenter will be Margot Médanger, Head of European CSR Affairs at Le Groupe La Poste, the French Post Office. And then we're followed by Carlos Ignacio de la Rosa. He's Vice President of Sales at the Colombian Post. Now we're hoping that Dimitri Kurunzi, a Senior Advisor of Government Affairs and International Development at the Russian Post, will be able to join us, but at the moment he's having a technical difficulty. Okay. Each will be doing an individual keynote presentation, one after the other, and then we'll have 15-20 minutes, possibly longer if we're down to two presenters, of a live Q&A at the end. So please, as we go through the presentations, think of some questions, pop them in the question area of the platform, and I'll ask those questions on your behalf to our panelists. Okay, so right, let's get ready for the ride. So let's get started. Firstly, I'd like to introduce Margot Médanger from Le Groupe La Poste. And Margot is the Head of European CSR, Corporate Social Responsibility, of Affairs at Groupe La Poste, Le Groupe La Poste, where she has been working for almost 12 years, holding different functions relating to human resources, European affairs, and sustainability. Margot is also chairwoman of Post Europe CSR Circle and the Employers Group of the European Social Dialogue Committee for the postal sector. She holds a master's degree from the College of Europe and from the Institute of Political Science in Strasbourg, where she lives. I will now pass over to Margot, who will deliver, I think, a very interesting presentation. Over to you, Margot.
Good morning, everyone. I am Margot Médanger. I am the Head of European CSR Affairs for Le Groupe La Poste. I also have the pleasure to be the chairwoman of the CSR Circle of Post Europe. I must say that I'm very pleased today to be able to present at Post and Parcel conference on that very important topic, which is diversity and inclusion. Indeed, as you will see, Le Groupe La Poste is really leading the way on that topic. And I must say that as representing Post Europe and the whole European postal sector, actually, postal sector is doing very well on that topic. Let me start my presentation by explaining you why diversity is at the heart of the policy of Le Groupe La Poste. Actually, in view of the size of the company, but also of the diversity of its activities, as well as of its widespread presence all over the French territory, Le Groupe La Poste is and has to be at the image of the diversity of the French society. This translates into a very active policy to promote diversity and equal opportunities at all levels of the company. First of all, this is confirmed at the very highest level within the board of directors. But this is also implemented at the very local level, thanks to a dedicated network of diversity officers who are located in the regional structures of the company. My presentation today will focus on three main issues, which I believe are essential for the Groupe La Poste in terms of diversity. The first one is gender equality. The second is the issue of disability and the employment of people with disabilities. And the last one is a special focus on the issue of caregiver, which I believe is quite specific to France and to La Poste. In terms of gender equality, La Poste has several high-level commitments. It has indeed signed several agreements. If you consider the international level, La Poste has signed the UN Global Compact, as well as the CEO's commitment for gender equality. At the national level, La Poste has signed several documents, like the Parenthood Charter, as well as a specific framework agreement which aimed to increase the female participation in government bodies, which was signed by 16 of the French largest companies, together with the Ministry of Women's Rights in 2013. I also wanted to mention that La Poste has a special commitment as regards the inclusion of women in the digital world and in digital careers. As such, it is one of the founding partners of the foundation, which is called Femmes at Numérique, which is composed of NGOs, big French companies, as well as the French state. I will now focus on the main achievements of La Poste in terms of gender equality. Throughout the years, La Poste has signed several agreements on this topic of gender equality. The last one was signed in 2018 and set 4 priorities. The first priority relates to the rate of women in managerial positions, and this priority came with very specific objectives in terms of rates. You can see that this objective is to have at least 45% of women in the upper management and to have among senior executives at least 40% of women. These 2 objectives have to be met by July 2022. The second priority relates to mixity to be promoted within all functions. And this is particularly important for those functions which are considered to be either male or female related ones. Another very important priority is the will of the company to fight against sexism and violences through concrete measures. Last priority, which actually goes beyond gender equality, is the support to all postal employees in view of their individual situation. That may cover employees who are in part-time work, employees who live in single families, and also different measures related to parenthood. In 2019, another important milestone for La Poste was the creation of its gender parity network. This network is made of women and men who wish to promote gender equality, but also change, innovation, progress, all that as a lever of the performance of the company. This network consists actually, first of all, into a physical network with several meetings which are organized all over the year, with in particular external speakers to give their testimonies. It also consists in a digital network, which, as we know, is very important nowadays, and which relies on an intranet dedicated to that issue, where all postal employees can share their testimonies and personal experience on that important topic of gender equality. So, thanks to these policy initiatives and very concrete actions, La Poste actually can show very good figures as regards gender equality. As you can see, among postal employees, more than 52% are women. If you consider managerial positions, more than half of them are filled by women. Coming now to another indicator, which is wage differences, we see that in La Poste, there is no wage gap between women and men. If we consider how important this issue of wage differences between men and women is, you can see really that this no wage gap shows that La Poste is outperforming on that topic. Lastly, it is also to be noticed that in 2019, all of the women who were on maternity leave have received a wage increase. Thanks to these policy initiatives and very good figures, in 2019, La Poste has reached a gender equality index of 94 out of 100. Actually, this gender equality index was put in place by the French government in 2018 in order to evaluate the largest French companies and their gender equality policies throughout a set of several criteria. If you consider that the average equality index of the French companies was in 2019 of 82 out of 100, you can really see that with 94%, La Poste is outperforming. So, to sum up, La Poste has very good results in terms of gender equality, but obviously a lot is still to be done. Coming now to my second topic, which is the employment of people with disabilities, I also want to underline here that La Poste has signed several agreements on that topic throughout the years. The most recent one was signed in 2019 with the 7th agreement to promote the employment of people with disabilities. Among the main commitments of that agreement is a dedicated budget of 23 million. It is to be underlined that within that budget, more than 60% is dedicated to keep employees in disability within their current function. So this budget enables to adapt the work position of those employees so that they can continue to work despite their disability. Other commitments are a welcome plan, which is dedicated to each employee, each disabled employee who will join a new position, as well as trainings, which are mandatory for those managers who welcome a person with disability within their teams. Last important commitment is in terms of concrete objectives to recruit at least 650 people with disabilities over a period of 4 years. It is to be underlined that among these recruitments, 260 have to be made on open-ended contracts. Here again, thanks to these important initiatives and policy actions, La Poste can show very good figures as regards disability. La Poste is actually the largest employer in France of people with disabilities. If you consider some figures, let's take first of all the legal statutory minimum, which was set by the French government for companies to have at least 6% of the workforce made of people with disabilities. You can see that with 7%, La Poste is really much above that threshold. Concretely speaking, that means that more than 14,000 employees have a recognized disability within La Poste. And I would like to underline here that those employees have functions all over the company. So not only in back office functions, but also in functions where there are direct relationships with clients and especially within post offices. As a last point of my presentation, I would like to make a special focus on the issue of caregivers, because I really believe that this is a French specificity and also a La Poste specificity. If you take the national context, in France, there are 11 million caregivers, and out of them, almost half are people with an employment. So what is a caregiver? A caregiver is a person who supports in a non-professional manner one of his relatives who is either dependent, heavily ill, or disabled. And this, whatever the age of this relative is. So this might be either a child or a dependent parent. Considering now what La Poste has been doing on that issue, it started actually already in 2014 to work on that matter with several measures. These measures include in particular a guide which compiles all the existing information and aid which is available within the company. There is also a dedicated desk with a phone platform where caregivers can access all the information which is available to them. Last measure is the certificate, caregiver certificate, which gives access to caregivers to a lot of social offers. All these measures were actually formalized into a collective agreement which was signed in 2018. One of the main new measures put in place by this collective agreement was the creation of a solidarity fund. This solidarity fund actually enables to give additional holidays to caregivers. How does it work? So on the one hand, La Poste gives each year a total of 1,000 holidays to this fund. And on the other end, each employee can give among his personal holidays some days in an anonymous way and without obviously any compensation. And so caregivers can make specific demand in order to benefit from these holidays to support their dependent relatives. I will now do some focus on the caregiver certificate. Actually, any postman or woman can make a formal request to the company to receive a caregiver certificate. And if he or she gets the positive answer, he or she is formally recognized as a caregiver with this certificate. In terms of benefits, this means that the caregiver can have a specific organization of his or her working time, with a possibility to arrange schedules of work or working days in a specific manner, and also a special attention which is given in case there is a reorganization within the company. Considering the topic of telework, which as we know is very common nowadays, but which was much more exceptional at that time, there is actually up to 25 days of additional teleworking per year, which are given to caregivers. Another important benefit is the fact that caregivers have automatically 3 special holidays per year in addition to their regular holidays. Thanks to these days, they can in particular support their relative if they want to go to any administrative or medical assignments. Last benefit is the fact that caregivers have a special, easier access to part-time work. So all these measures are made so that the caregiver can have a better balance between their private and professional life, so that they can manage their personal obligations, but also be efficient within the company. So I would like now to finish my presentation by underlining that within La Poste, the diversity issue is a very important one, and it covers very specific and different diversity issues. Actually, as a company, we do value each individual based on its competencies. And what we want to underline, as it is indicated there, is that within La Poste, we are all different, but we are also all performant. Thank you for your attention, and I'm now open to any questions.
Okay, that's excellent, Margot. Thank you very much for that, that presentation. Of course, we'll have the questions at the end, but if you have any questions for Margot, please put them into the platform, and I'll be sure to ask her later your questions. Okay, I'd now like to introduce Carlos de la Rosa. Carlos is a business manager from the University of Andes in Bogota. He has an MBA from the Kennesaw State University in Atlanta, USA, and he has a certificate in digital marketing strategy from the very well-renowned Kellogg Business School. He has held various commercial positions in banking, retail, telecommunications, and media. Carlos has also held board member positions in important national media and telecoms associations. I'll now pass over to Carlos for his presentation. Over to you, Carlos.
Okay, good morning to all. Can you confirm you're seeing my screen right now?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. So good morning. I'm actually very honored to be here today with all of you. We'll be talking about the business side of the Colombian Post company 472, and specifically what has been done the past year in order to transform our operation and our business model. So we're basically in the middle of focusing how we can handle the physical services with digital services, because our customers have changed the way they work, the way they communicate, the way they notify either employees or citizens. So basically, we have been going through a lot of changes in the past year, and we are very, very proud of the outcomes we have achieved so far. So just a brief introduction. 472 is our brand name. We are the Colombian Post. We have as business units everything that has to do with the mail. We classify and transport packages and mail nationally and internationally. We're also a provider of international money orders. We also do that inside Colombia. We also have the business of designing and delivering stamps that are used in the official postal services. And we have a business unit that works with the Colombian government and their entities in order to make sure that their documents that are consulted by the citizens are up in the cloud, digital, and we provide that service to government entities. Last year in numbers, so here's a snapshot of our income. Things to note in this slide is we basically increased more than 45% e-commerce cross-border shippings. So I'll go through the numbers really fast. Our total income through November 2020 was close to $74.7 million. We can actually sort and distribute 11,000 parcel documents per hour. We have close to 1,900 vehicles and distributors, more than 114 million shippings, 4,800 employees. We cover the entire country. It doesn't matter how remote a place or a town is. We cover it. It's our duty as the official postal operator. We have close to 1,270 locations nationwide, which covers basically all major cities and small towns. And we have 8 operational centers located throughout the country. So what happened during last year with our business side is documents fell. You know, many of our main customers closed their operation for a few months. We had an increase in packages, and obviously the postal growth was about 5.6%. So in our company, those are global postal industry reports for 2019. In our company, 472, we had a decrease in the year 2018-2019. in postal documents that we had a less than 1% decrease in postal documents. From 2019 to 2020, we had a 38% decrease in the same business line. So it's a really big impact for our numbers. But on the other side, if we look at e-commerce packages, from 2018 to 2019, we had a 35% increase, which was pretty good. But for the period from 2019 to 2020, we had a 56% increase in e-commerce packages. We also had a lot of new customers coming in from marketplaces in Asia, maybe international operators, several of them, which basically supplied or gave us the numbers that we were losing on the other side. So these are numbers from the Chamber of Commerce, the e-commerce Chamber of Commerce in Colombia, and basically what we have in Colombia is that we have many obstacles that doesn't allow the postal services to go more electronic or digital. The first one, which is very, very noticeable, is limitations in infrastructure. We have little or no investment in electronic or technology. We have a difficulty with customs because we have many steps that we have to take in order to liberate merchandise that's coming from overseas. We also have difficulty with the workforce and customers adopting a digital culture, and many marketplaces and e-commerce stores do not use their own distribution networks or their own operational networks. So another thing that's very, very common in Colombia is there's not enough digital services people in the companies that provide knowledge and innovation inside their own operation. So Force 72 had to sit down at the table with all its main corporate heads and figure out what's going to be done in the next 4 years. So we have a few challenges. One of them is probably an obvious one. That's the less use of postal services. It hasn't been a really good business for us the last year. As I told you before, many of our main customers just either stopped sending physical documents, or they substituted that with digital solutions, or they stopped at all. That's another thing that really happened in some of our biggest customers. We have an increase in e-commerce, which is good because we can actually increase our business in package deliveries, but at the same time, we have a lot of private company competition. So it's a really fierce market. We have to, stay on top of our game and make sure that we have a competitive offer in that sense. And the other big challenge is that the government itself is really focused on the digital transformation of all their entities, which is a very huge market. And Force 72, our company, has a business unit that focuses on being like the implementation partner for that digital transformation. So we focus the strategy in 3 main aspects. The first one is obviously strengthening the human talent, because at the end of the day, we are the ones that execute the strategies and the ones that we have to face the customer and be very focused on innovation. We had to adapt the business model because the business changed. We had to dig deep into what e-commerce really means for us as a company. And We also had to transform the operation, and that required some investment that was done last year in the operation, making sure that we could handle more packages faster and prepare ourselves for a bigger market. So our vision is that by 2024, 472 or Servicios Postales Nacionales will bring close to 122 million in revenue. That's a 47% growth from 2019. We also had a vision where e-commerce would be 40% of revenue. Information management systems, which is the business units that we work on digitalization of the government, would be 30% of revenue, and financial services would participate with 5%. So basically, we're talking about 75% of the revenue coming from other lines different than the traditional postal services. We would also be a top 3 player in the courier companies in the country. We have, like I told you before, fierce competitors, international companies and national companies. So we're focusing on being on the top 3, and also, like I told before, 75% of our income coming from other services different than documents. So this is a snapshot of the strategic route that we designed from 2020 to 2024 before we even had any sense that there was going to be a pandemic. So the numbers or the participation of each business line in 2019 was 45% was coming in from documents, 17% from e-commerce, 20% from information services, and 1% from financial services. So our plan was that by 2024, everything would switch. We will have documents participating with 10%, e-commerce with 40%, information services 30%, and financial services 5%. So what were the numbers in 2020? So you can see the transition that really moved really fast last year. We had a 4-year plan, and everything just sped up and condensed in 1 year. So we have 25% participation with documents. So you can see the decrease, very impressive decrease. E-commerce now weighs 29%, information services 25%, and financial services is still stable at 1%. Regarding financial services, there was something really strange that happened. Is the average money order sent, which is close to about $50, $40 to $50, stayed the same. I mean, the amount did not increase or decrease, but the amount of money orders decreased a lot. So we were stable throughout the year, but we were expecting a much larger projection because we thought that people would be sending more money orders, specifically when they could not go out and hand it out personally. So that didn't happen. We really had a very stable business with financial services. So this is basically the digital transformation route in 2020, all the things that we had to do last year. We acquired a cognitive capture system, which helped us capture more packages and reduce the time that we had in the main operation. We developed an app, which is a speech-to-text module that helps sort out those packages that have some identification problems. We developed another app that was designed for the final delivery. Instead of having people sign for packages and documents, we had an application where they could accept the package and just make sure that it was certified, so they didn't have to physically have to sign any documents accepting the package. We also developed another app, which is basically focused on making the population have having the tool for them to place virtual money orders in Colombia, where they could place a money order through their app, and the receiving part could either go to one of our points of sale and retrieve the money, making sure that all the facial biometrics were met. As in many countries in Colombia, we have a legislation that make us identify the person that places the money order and the person who retrieves the money order. So we also had another transformation in the tax payment process, which would help customers and clients pay taxes electronically. Another service that was activated that we didn't have before. It may sound like obvious, but we could not pick any packages or documents at home, so we activated that service through a module in our website, and people could just place an order. Our trucks came in, picked up the packages, and sent them to their final destination. And another thing that we really activated, or was very important for us, was an omni-channel or omni-channel customer service module that helped us have different touch points with our customers, and helped us increase our service levels with customers. So for next year, or this year, we're actually at the end of January. This is like a route in digital transformation for our own company. We're going to be setting up new modules in our money transfer app and the tax payment platform. We are focusing on launching by the end of this semester our first marketplace. We'll talk a little bit about that later on. We're going to have more control of the operation with investment in more technology. We're going to be integrating SMS again via notification, because it's a tool that we have found out that it's more effective in communicating than any other. Text messages are, for some reason, people cannot leave the temptation of opening an SMS as opposed to an email, for example. We're going to also be implementing the phase 1 of our business intelligence platform, which is going to help us also determine new investments in points of contact with end consumers. In the third quarter, we're going to be defining a new software for the entire operation. We're going to have a new integration with an app with 472 and postal services. Immediate deliveries, which is basically like a model that's going to be working just as fast as when you order a meal to a restaurant. We're going to be working in those immediate deliveries also for e-commerce, phase 2 of the business intelligence. And by the end of the year, we're going to be implementing or the start of a multi-entity BPO. I will talk briefly about that later on, with an implementation of other aspects in technology on the operation. So 472 will be heavily invested in technology in the operation to make sure that we have fast services, we have high volume handling, and we have close contact with the customers and end users. So in this context,
Carlos, can I
yes,
just
sir.
interrupt for 1 second?
Yes.
We're running out of time, and I want to make sure that the audience has plenty of time to ask you some questions at the end. If you could just speed things up a little, that would be great.
Sure, I'll skip this slide and I'll go to the final one. That's fine. So this is basically the summary of where we're going to be focusing on, and I want to focus finally on e-commerce, because this is a really big bet for 2021. We're going to be vertically integrated, bringing in some allies, where we're going to be building a marketplace and helping small businesses that have a challenge going into e-commerce, where we centralize payments and logistics in one marketplace and work with them in all the marketing to position the marketplace as a top e-commerce site in Colombia. So that's going to be a really important strategy to be implemented this year. And basically, that's what we have been doing in Colombia for the past year and what we expect to be focusing on this year, a lot of e-commerce. So I hope that wraps it up, and thank you for the time. We're open to questions anytime you want.
Excellent, Carlos. Thank you so much for your presentation, and I'm sure we will have plenty of questions at the end. And thank you for speeding things up a little bit. I want to give the audience plenty of opportunity. Okay, our final speaker has arrived, Dimitri Korunzi. I'm delighted to say a bit of a bio for Dimitri before I hand over to him. He's worked for the Russian Post since 2018. His role is Senior Advisor to the Director of Government Affairs and International Development. Prior to that, he was an advisor to the Director of Marketing and Corporate Communications, and has also headed up marketing and branding departments within Russian Post. Prior to joining the Russian Post, he was engaged in consulting in areas of strategy, business development, digital marketing, branding, and so on. He's worked with football clubs like Zenit St. Petersburg, who beat Liverpool knocked us out the Europa Cup in 2013. So that was bad news for me personally. He was also involved in a fantastically interesting project, part of the 2018 FIFA World Cup for the Fan ID, which is very important and very well executed. Between 2012 and 2016, Dimitri held several senior roles in insuring and banking sectors, driving significant innovation in both. And he also remains involved in education. He's supporting digital marketing at the University of Internet Professions and Netology. He's involved in brand strategy at the Institute of Business and Design, and has marketing at the British Higher School of Art and Design in Moscow. So a fantastic bio, Dimitri. Really looking forward to your presentation. Over to you.
Okay, thank you for introduction. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So my name is Dmitry Kharunji. I'm Senior Advisor to the Director of JAR and International Development in Russian Post. Mikhail Mamonov, my boss, apologized for not able to present the material by himself due to his stay at hospital. So my goal this morning is to tell about the strategic plans of Russian Post domestically and the international market. Find possible partners to achieve goals in the middle term. First of all, I'd like to tell general information about Russian Post. 80% of Russian population are our customers, which translates into 6 million daily post office visitors. Russian Post is the national postal operator with the number of employees exceeds 270,000 people, and 50% of them are couriers and postmen. We have the biggest retail chain in Russia. It's about 42 post offices. So a few words about strategic direction for 2013. We plan to digitalize and preserve the integrity of legally significant communication, distribute digital, socially significant and public services in the region, become the #1 choice for e-commerce market participants in the Russian Federation, create a global postal and logistic operator in the e-commerce market, offer basic financial service for all segments of the country population within walking distance, provide the country's population with high quality and affordable consumer goods. From these big strategy goals, we concentrate to 6 key areas of business activity. So they are postal business, parcel and e-commerce business, international business, financial business, social service and pension payment, retail business. In all of these business, we start digital transformation and launch different projects, and about 65% of projects have digital inside. We have already begun to receive and separately account for the revenue from our digital services. We have already moved into direction on digital products. The first is sending and receiving parcels, and the second is the delivery of letters from government agencies in the electronic form. A large number of retail customers across the country have become regular users of our website and mobile application. Our digital revenue already grow year to year about 30%. So this was a short introduction part about the Russian Post, and let's now turn to the most important project for us. In the century of globalization, there is a need for electronic document management in international trade, export-import projects, implementation of investment projects, development of the transnational business, and other areas. We see the prospect of creating an international cross-border trust space to organize the exchange of legally significant electronic documents between business and the government through a specialized information system. The development of an international electronic document management system will lead to a significant reduction in bureaucratic barriers and will increase the efficiency of international business. Postal administrations could become the backbone of such cross-border trust space, acting as trusted third party. So we find it crucial to involve the Universal Postal Union to this endeavor. We are already implementing a similar project inside the country and are planning to scale it up to other territories. Another general focus for us is on the international e-commerce market. The e-commerce market has shown sustainable growth for the last several decades. The current pandemic of COVID-19 only accelerated the basis of its development. But traditional retailers have recognized the need to move their business online as quickly as possible. Starting a business online turned out to be difficult, and many faced a number of problems, which are lack of developed infrastructure for integrated launch of online sales, lack of availability of qualified personnel and online sales training programs, lack of affordable financing for SMBs for setting up a new line of business. Market consolidations around several marketplaces that are constantly tightening the terms of cooperation between them and SMBs. In the current situation, marketplaces are developing their own logistics. They crowd out traditional players. In order to diversify the risk associated with the loss of the market, we decided to create our own infrastructure for e-commerce participants. Russian Post is aiming to develop and establish a service provider that will help SMBs across Russia to set up online sales and increase their efficiency as business. The initiative will help the logistic operator to take a key place in the e-commerce market from an object to subject and become a participant in the market development. The second initiative in e-commerce is the launch of our own niche digital product showcase for export and import activities. On the top 30 developed and developing countries, 50% of postal administration develop their own postal marketplace. We see the great potential in the creation of a single trading platform united by postal network. We find the name like Kupi Local, it's the same as Buy Local, is a standalone e-commerce model for cross-border trade, completing the function of several service providers for export. This is a strategically important element that enables us to occupy the niche of e-commerce related to exports and retail cross-border imports. And the third key initiative concerns logistic and international transit development. Transit as a Russian Post strategic development direction. Russia is situated on and adjoins the large cargo flow of our time between China and the Europe. Every year, an increasing share of this traffic cargo flow is either parcel cross-border or goods for online trade. The The latest share in the overall turnover is growing every year by at least 25%. Currently, the bulk of such cargo is delivering either by air, fast and expensive, or by sea, long but cheap. In any case, Russia does not capitalize on this transit. The Russian Post's key objective is to create a route for a fast freight container train that would go along the China to Europe transit and solve two problems for customers: being expensive, 20% more expensive than shipping by sea, and 4 times cheaper than air freight. Being swift, 12 to 14 days from Beijing to Berlin, which is 3-4 times faster than shipping by sea. So for us, transit is the main direction for our middle term and short term. And we plan to start this train in this year for testing, and in next year we will raise the volume of shipping. So for us, it's 3 cases which we develop in this year, and we'll promote them to other countries as well. So thank you for attention. Here are our contacts. We will be glad to cooperate.
Great, thank you, Dimitri. That was really interesting. Okay, over to the audience now. So use the questions drop down to ask some questions of the audience. That'd be great. I want to thank all 3 panelists for very interesting presentations. So thank you, Dimitri, Margot, and Carlos. I just need to open my camera. There you go. Okay, so I'll kick things off if that's okay. A question to you, Margot. So I love the fact that Le Groupe La Poste has nailed its colours to the mast, as we say in English, and you've committed to 40% of executives will be female going forward across all functions at senior level. Now, I can see how that's going to be easier for some functions than others. So, for example, HR, marketing, communications, finance, not so much of a challenge perhaps as potentially IT and operations, which are traditionally more attractive to or more careers for men than women. So how do you feel La Poste will achieve 40% in those more difficult, more challenging functions?
Yes, thank you, John. This is a very relevant question indeed, and not an easy one, I must say. So first of all, I think what is the most important is to change the mindset. I mean, this is something that has been tried in terms of at the national level, at the company level. And I would say that in La Poste, we have managed that by leading by example, in the sense that the director of our digital department is a woman. So she's a member of the board of directors, and she's very much involved in actions and initiatives to promote the role of women in IT, being it within the company or externally. So this is the first very concrete element I can give you to answer that. Second element is the fact that actually the rule we have set for internal applications, because as a company, we do promote a lot internal mobility, and this may be between different functions, meaning that someone who is, as you were saying, in the HR department, for instance, can very well move to another very different function within the company, with the training going in support of that. And for all these internal applications, what we have set as a rule is that we should have as many men and women applying for a function. So we are looking to have the same number of women and men applicants for one function before we do the interviews. So this is one way in order to promote women in those functions which indeed are considered to be more male related.
Fantastic, thank you for that, Margot. Carlos, over to you. So first of all, Some of the audience want me to pass on their immense appreciation for you getting up and presenting at 4 in the morning in Colombia. So well done for that. I guess you're drinking lots of Colombian coffee to keep you awake at this moment in time. Okay, I have a question for you, Carlos.
Yes, sir.
Your e-commerce platform, do you plan to open this up for cross-border to allow, for example, sales from to China and from China, or the US or Europe, and so on? How international will you evolve this this marketplace?
Okay, so just to clarify, we actually currently are working on 2 projects. One is a marketplace that's going to be managed by us, and where we're going to help a lot of small businesses. We're expecting to help close to 5,000 small businesses this year. But we're also working on an e-commerce site for, not a coincidence, coffee growers in a specific region in Colombia. So that e-commerce site is going to be focused on the North American market, basically USA and Canada, where we're going to be selling specialty coffee to end consumers. And why are we in the middle? Because we can build the website, we can centralize the payments, we can distribute the revenue between the coffee grower, the logistics cost, and the marketing required to position the website. And we have a specific product that helps exporters, Colombian exporters, deliver products to different parts of the world. So we're like closing the circle that a coffee producer not necessarily knows about e-commerce. So we're placing ourselves in the middle, making sure that we do the proper marketing, we target the proper market, we subsidize the delivery through the commission that we're going to get through sales. So we're in a perfect position to help small companies export products to countries different than Colombia.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Carlos. Dimitri, I have a question for you. Does the Russian Post have a CSR program similar to Le Groupe La Poste in terms of corporate social responsibility? Oh, sorry, I think you might be on mute, Dimitri.
Now I am on. Yes, we have the same program, but not large and as La Poste, and not so complex. But we work on this, and our HR department is start different programs, because in Russia Post there is about 80% it's women. And many people who work in Russian Post, they work half day because they are 65 years plus old, and so we start and we manage the same programs.
Wow. Okay, that's really interesting. I'm sure Margot will be happy to share with you some of the planning that went into developing the Groupe La Poste program. Okay, I have a question actually for you, Margot. You mentioned, obviously, you've got very applaudable disability targets. How challenging is it to achieve those targets at the operational front end, in which is traditionally quite a physical, demanding role in delivering parcels and mail?
This is something I partly explained in my presentation, is that we have a budget which is quite important in order to enable people who are disabled to work in their functions. So that means that their job position is adapted so that they can continue to work despite their disability. I mean, obviously, for those functions which are in operations, it is more difficult. But as said, it is 60% of a budget of 23 million. So more than 15 millions of euros are actually dedicated to adapting the work positions so that people can carry on working in their position, even if they have a disability. So this is really something that we focus on, that people can keep their job position, that we don't have, because of the disability, to move them in another function, or just, let's say, to have them not work. So this is very important to enable them to keep their work position and to be able to stay in their job function. It is one of our priority as regards the employment of disabled people.
Superb, thank you for that, Margot. A question for Dimitri. So Dimitri, you know, the train that you're working on cuts transit times from Beijing to Berlin to 14 days. I mean, that's a game changer. Yeah. When it's up and running and full steam ahead, so to speak, what sort of volume could the train carry compared to these huge container ships?
So if I clearly understand your question, the main idea is to use the same trains, and like for not like for cargo, and it's will be the post train, but with time, what can which can go the same time as for like for people which go from Peking to Moscow, it takes 7 days. And if we can do the same for postal trains, and if we have a special agreement with our rail trains and our government, which are speak with logistics, and that's why we can start so tiny time for transit. But it's a very big work, because there are different government and legal problems, and it's to plan the train is possible, but in real it will be difficult, because different businesses, different parties, also the customers, we need to change their regulations and their plans, and it's need to be the change from different government structures. That's the biggest problem in this case.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Dimitri. Carlos, I have a question for you. So you mentioned 70% of revenues are currently from away from the core mail and documents part of the business. Clearly, e-commerce is a key part of your strategy, as it is with all post strategies. Now, your background, sales. How are you? What initiatives are you doing to sell the e-commerce platform and marketplace to the domestic sort of entrepreneurs of Colombia?
Okay, so we have built some alliances with different chambers of commerce from different cities around the country, where they have all the database of companies specified by the size. So we make sure that we target really small businesses that qualify as an official business. I mean, we're not targeting personal entrepreneurs. We're targeting officially consolidated companies, even though they're small in size. So chambers of commerce is one of our touch points with these small businesses, and some national associations that help small business and entrepreneurs develop their companies. We're also in touch with them. There's a Colombian entity called ProColombia, which promotes exports of Colombian products, and we're working hand in hand with them with a very specific project that has to do with fashion and clothing manufacturing, basically focused on the North American market also, with a similar model that the one I explained about coffee, but focusing on B2B sales. So that's a little bit a little twist on a regular marketplace, where we have like a closed environment where we have suppliers and buyers in a niche industry, making transactions over a website that we build, and where we consolidate all the logistics that are going to be used in the export of those fashion products. So basically, if that answers the question, is we're working with a lot of national entities to make sure we target the right companies that are going to be joining our marketplace.
Yeah, I think it's spot on. I mean, there's not really a silver bullet, single thing to do. It's about building relationships with all sorts of influential bodies to get some significant volume coming. Margot, we're coming to the end now, but I want to give the last question to you because I think it's a really important one. So clearly, Le Groupe La Poste takes very seriously the subject of CSR. What are the drivers that makes them feel it's so important in terms of CSR's impact to social, economic, but it's also about business? And have you, in your experience, does it have a positive impact on business growth and generation as well as the environment?
So indeed, I mean, there are a lot of aspects as related to CSR. As you were saying, it's about human capital, it's about environment. So basically, there are regulations that we have to follow, but we clearly made the decision to go further than the regulation in terms of policy and actions. So as regards human capital, for us, it's really an asset. As for other postal companies, we are more than 200,000 employees. And for instance, based on our network of postmen and postwomen all over the French territory, we have developed a service which is called Check on My Parents, basically. So it's the postman going to elderly people to check that they are in good shape and in good health. And this is one of the new businesses that we have created, and which is actually largely relying on our human capital and on our relationship of trust between postmen and the citizens. So this is one aspect. And when referring, for instance, to the environment, we have a subsidiary which is called DPD, that you know, and which is largely developing internationally. And one of the actions that DPD has put in place is that it enables with captors that are put on vehicles to evaluate the air quality within large cities. So we, on all the vehicles of DPD within big European cities, there are these captors which can evaluate the quality of the air, and this provides data which can be used, for instance, by municipalities in order to evaluate the quality of the air, and therefore also the impact this may have on citizens and on air pollution. So in that sense, we do really believe that CSR is a lever of economic performance and has enabled us to develop new services in different very different issues.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you, Margot, for a very thorough answer. Right, panelists, I'd love to thank you all, Dimitri, Margot, and Carlos, for very interesting presentations. Thank you for being so open and honest with your responses to the questions. We're having to wrap up now. We could have carried on, I know, for another hour at least. Ladies and gentlemen in the audience, I know some of you are asking for copies of the presentation. I'm sure these will be made available to you if you go through our hosts, Triangle Management Services. I'm wrapping it up now. Great session. Hopefully this time next year we'll be back in the room somewhere. But in the meantime, there's lots of other very interesting panels over the next couple of days. Please enjoy the conference and see you all soon in person, I hope. Take care. Thank you, panelists. Cheers.
Thank you. Have a good one. Take care.
Bye.